You can't blame white Jesus for wanting to clean things up, since you want to leave it looking like trash, expecting the government to come in and clean up and not expect anything in return. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to TLE News. I'm your host, NH Labduni, Hassan Labduni. And today, I have another topic. It's actually coming off yesterday's topic, so we're actually taking yesterday's topic and we're going further. It's something I wanted to do, but then yesterday's topic came forward as something pressing, and now I'm going to do this. Excuse me. But what I wanted to talk about today, because yesterday I reported on the gentrification in Little Haiti, while Little Havana gets to be preserved because it is being deemed a national treasure. So today, what I want to talk about is the gentrification and the responsibilities of the communities and neighborhoods affected by it. Now, first off, let me say this. Once the snake has sunk its teeth in, it is almost impossible to remove the fangs. Now, with that being said, I want to speak on some preventive measures that can be put in place to avoid being the next victim of racial progress. Because racial progress only is progressive for the ones not being oppressed and marginalized and disenfranchised, while the rest continue to build up, prosper, and live off the backs of you and I. Anyway, so number one, communities, neighborhoods around the world, especially in America, minority communities, from Florida to Montana to Washington, Oregon, and so on, from sea to shining sea. Clean up your damn hood. I'll repeat that again. Clean up your damn hood. Most of these places wrought with gentrification look like trash. Now let's be honest. With ourselves here, many of these communities look grungy, run down, and ultimately unsafe to be in. You can't blame white Jesus for wanting to clean things up, since you want to leave it looking like trash, expecting the government to come in and clean up and not expect anything in return. Now, it is past time for you to own your own neighborhoods and take pride in ownership. Clean it up before someone else, i.e. the government, land developers, so on, come in and clean it up for you. If an outside party has to come in and do the work, best believe they're not leaving without their best interests being installed. It's just not going to happen. Your culture cannot and will not withstand the advancement of white benevolence. Excuse me. What you need to do is organize cleanup crews for these neighborhoods. Put up a fresh coat of paint on these buildings that look run down, looking like they had the same coat of paint since the 1980s. We are in 2017. Clean the shit up. I'm just saying. Get the trash off the streets. Remove the criminal underbelly, the criminal element in these communities that hold these communities hostage. By doing this, you can help to raise your own property value so developers can't just come in and pay bottom dollar to run you out, develop, and raise the value themselves and turn around and rent it back to you at exorbitant prices. Clean up your neighborhoods. Clean up your communities. Before I even go further, I want to differentiate between the difference between a neighborhood and a community. For example, black people want to talk about the black community. Your black community is not a community if you don't own the land. Your black community is not a community if you don't own the establishments that are doing business, or control the establishments that are doing business, or create the policies that allow those businesses that are doing businesses in your communities. You do not own the communities if you do not run those institutions that provide education to the kids in that community. If you're subjected to the education system of others within your community, you do not own that community. If you do not own the land, you do not own the government, you do not own the infrastructure that's in that community, that is not a community, that is a neighborhood. You live there, but you don't own shit. It's not your community. Number two, like I mentioned in number one, own your hoods. For too long, you survived in these neighborhoods, but you have not lived and thrived in them. Buy up the block. And when I say buy up the block, I don't mean like freaking Rick Ross and 2 Chainz or whoever else was on that song, because I really didn't listen to the song because I didn't like it. Buy up the block. And I don't mean just the structures that are on them, but the actual land that these buildings sit on. Own them. These same banks that you deposit your money in are the same banks giving out these loans to these land developers to come in and run you out. So what do? What do? How can you own your neighborhood? How can you own your block without being held hostage by the criminal element within these communities, neighborhoods? Well, when playing by their rules, the first thing to do would be to get a bank loan to fund the purchase and the improvement of your neighborhood. Bank loan to fund the purchase of the land and the overall improvement of the neighborhood. Now, the argument that banks don't approve loans to blacks, to minorities, so on, holds some water. It holds some merit, but that can't be the end-all, be-all excuse for every time something bad happens within these neighborhoods. Your communities need to come together to pool their resources to do the job themselves if they can't rely on the banks to fund these improvement projects by the communities themselves. Just saying. Now, with all the money that we have in these banks as a collective, under careful supervision and direction by the people of these neighborhoods and communities, these funds can be put together to buy parcels of land piece by piece to develop it ourselves. No one knows what a community needs more than the ones who live there. Don't let someone who hasn't lived there come in and tell you what you need. You know what is needed in your community. Don't let people who have left the community come back just to convince you to turn your back on your community like they have. It is in their best interest that you give up your property. They get a financial windfall. You get a measly check. But guess what? That measly check will not sustain you to the next place that you move to. Many stories have come out about that. That measly check that they give you, which is 1 or 2 times over property value, will not sustain you to the next place that you move to. Why? The next place that you move to, the property value is higher. You try to come back to your original community, you'll find that the property value in your original community is even higher than the one that you're leaving, because you sold out to these land developers. Don't let them fool you. Now, with proper structure in place, you can fund and build up your communities without the help of these banks, without the help of land developers and other outside parties looking to cash in on presumably low property value, considering that it's low only because of the residents that live there and how they keep the neighborhood. Clean up your damn hood. Own your damn hood. Now, as a side note, these tips, this information that I'm giving you, may not stop the whole gentrification process altogether, but it will definitely slow it down to a crawl when they see that the community is bonded, is united together against being pushed out, is united together from having their whole culture being erased. United. Like the Haitian flag said, l'union fait la force. Unity is strength. We must be united. Now, number 3. One way or another, you need to get involved in the political process. You need to have town hall meetings and discuss the needs of the communities. Not in the city council, not with the council meetings that they have once a month. You need to have it amongst yourselves. If that city council is not a reflection of you, of the people, and the desires of you and the people, you don't need to have a town hall meeting with them. Have it yourselves. Have it at a local auditorium or in someone's house or a local church. But you need to have your own town hall meetings away from the city government and the city council that doesn't reflect your desires and needs. And have it yourself so you guys come together, you desire what you want, and then you bring it forth as a collective, as a whole, to these city council meetings. Now, what you also need to do is find a politician that you and your community as a collective, unity, remember, unity is strength. So we got to let go of petty differences just to achieve the proper goal that is needed for our people. Find a politician that all of you can get behind and help fund the fight to save your community. If there isn't a politician in place that wants to fight for you, install one of your own choosing. You choose somebody that's going to represent you and your community as a collective and say, this is the needs of this community. This is the desires and the wants of this community. This is what we want. They got to go there and fight for you. But if you don't fund that fight is already lost before you even come out there. Now, the ideology of choosing the lesser of two evils is preposterous, i.e. the Trump-Hillary Clinton election debacle. Especially when neither one is looking out for your best interests. Get together to choose a candidate and then everyone get behind that candidate to ensure that your voices are truly heard. Now, unfortunately, you need someone in the political sphere, in the political realm, to represent you as a collective and fight for you. If not to secure more resources from the government for you, then to at least keep them at bay as you work to build yourselves up so they can't come in and run you through. Now, in a Trump America, things might be harder to do, but as a united front, a closed fist of power, it will be harder to eject you from your homes and your businesses. It'll be harder to squeeze you out through higher rent. Instead of thinking as an individual, focus on the collective. It is amongst your people that you have lived for this long. So should not your people decide what is done with your community, with your neighborhood? Now, I hope these ideas get planted in the minds of the courageous, the progressive, the visionary, and the like. It's not a foolproof plan, but it is a way to throw a wrench in the machine looking to stomp and trample the working class. It is a way to build ourselves back up to independence. It is our way to not be erased from the annals of history as they continue to alter the fabric of time. Stand up, unite, resist, build, prosper. I'm your host, Hassan Labduni, signing off for TLE News. Make sure you visit the website, lyricalelitist.com. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/lyricalelitist. Subscribe on YouTube, Lyrical Elitist, as well as TLE TV Instagram, TLETV. You can donate to what we're doing here at patreon.com/TLE News. That's patreon.com/TLE News. Now, if you have any comments, just go ahead and drop them off in the comment section, and I'll get back to you. If you want to provide some insightful information, drop it in the comments, or you can email. But what I'm just saying, it's up to us. We have to stop relying on outside sources to fund and fight our fight.